Alright, here's part 2 of our semester exam review. We're looking right here. It says, do the equation and graph below share a vertex? Okay, so you can see the vertex right here is going to be about 0.5. Okay, so I want to know, does this equation and that share a vertex? Okay, well, the equation for the vertex is negative b over 2a. So b is going to be negative 6. A is going to be positive 1. So negative b, so negative 6 gives me a positive 6 over 2 times 1. 6 over 2 is 3. Okay, well that x-coordinate does not equal that x-coordinate. The answer is no. Number 24. It says, how long does it take the boulder to reach its maximum height? So we're looking for the vertex. Okay, so all I'm going to do is going to plug this in my calculator. So let's open up a new document. We're going to go to add graph. We're going to insert this equation, which is negative 16 x squared plus 112x plus 30. We're going to graph it. Bam, there it is. Now once again we're going to find the vertex. We're going to go to trace. We'll trace the graph. We need to go up here to where it gives me the vertex. And it tells me, bam, it's a maximum. The x value is 3.5. Okay, all those are 3.5. D is incorrect. And the y value is right here at 226. Man, that's hard. 25. Back to looking at square roots. Okay, again, if I'm solving for x, all I've got to do is add 9 to both sides. I get x squared equals 9. Last step, take the square root. Now, once again, when you take the square root, you get a positive and a negative number. Looking at number 26, it says the area of a playground is 50 square yards. So let's say this is the playground. Your area is 50. The length of the playground is 2 times longer than its width. Right? So let's say that the width is w. The length is 2w, because the length is 2 times longer than the width. Okay, so find the length and width of the playground. Okay, well if I want to get the area, I'm going to do 2w times w, and that's going to equal the area, right? Length times width equals the area. So 2w times w gives you 2w squared. That equals 50. Now solve for w. Solve for the width. So divide by 2 on both sides. W squared equals 25. Take the square root, and w equals plus or minus 5. Now, let's talk about why this doesn't make sense. Because you can't have a negative distance. We're talking about yards. You can't have a negative 5 for a width, right? So the only possible option is positive 5. So we know that the width is 5. Okay, well we know right now that it's b. The length has to be 10 because the length is 2 times longer than the width. So if the width is 5, the length is 2 times 5. It says using the zero product property, all that means is you're going to set this equation equal to 0 and solve for x. So x minus 2 equals 0. That means x equals positive 2. Same thing here. Set this one equal to 0. X plus 7 equals 0. Subtract 7 on both sides. X equals 7. So my answer is 2, negative 7, which is C. Look at number 28. Says, what are the solutions to the equation? So you can do it a variety of ways. Okay, you can factor this. Oh, sorry, you can't even see it. You could factor this. You could complete the square. You could graph it. Okay, it doesn't matter to me. Let's go ahead and graph it because that's easy, breezy. So let's open up a new document. We're going to add a graph. We're going to type this in. Now, I need to move this c to the other side, so we're going to subtract 18. So my quadratic is going to be x squared plus 3x minus 18. Because again, we needed to move this 18 over here. So we're graphing that. We're looking for the zeros. So you can see I have a 0 right there at positive 3. And I have a 0 over here at negative 6. Again, zeros are your x-intercepts. So positive 3, negative 6. D. Moving right along, it says how many real solutions does the equation have? The equation is going to cross twice. All you got to do is plug it in your calculator. What's the difference between this function and this function? Well, you can see that we translated down 3 units. So my equation would be x squared and then minus 3. So transformations, if I have a negative 3 outside of the parentheses, I'm moving up or down. If you flip your paper over and go to the next one, you can see that we're moving left, right? So I'm going from here and I'm moving left 5 units. Okay, now this one's the tricky one. Okay, I'm moving right or left, that's going to be inside the parentheses. But now, why is it a positive 5? Because in your vertex form, you have y equals a x minus h squared plus k. So it's already a negative. So if I move over left, I'm plugging in a negative, and I get a minus negative, which changes it to a positive. So C is your correct answer. Number 32, we're looking at a exponential function. All number 32 is asking you to do is how much is the investment worth after 2 decades? So you're plugging in 2 in place of x. So you have 3,800 times 2 squared. Well, 2 squared is 4. 3,800 times 4 is 15,200. We can graph these exponentials in our calculator. Open up a new document. You're going to add a graph. We're going to type in 3 times 5 raised to the, again, raised to the button is right here. 3 times 5 raised to the x. Enter. Right, so you can see it's a positive exponential function. So we know right now that this one is incorrect, this one's incorrect. Okay, you can see that it is very steep because my base 5 is a lot bigger than 1. Number 34, same thing. You have an exponential function. You have an exponential function. Okay, you can see that your base is now 2. Right, your base is now 2. Okay, so now you should know that A and C are incorrect because this is an exponential function. And now you're choosing between B and D. Right, so all you got to do is plug this into your calculator. So let's open up a new document. We're going to type in 65 times 2 raised to the x. Enter. Now, if you were trying to see out of B and D which one is correct, all you need to do is go to the table. And I can see here, if I look, I have a point at 260. Okay, well if you go here and go up to 260, that's not on your graph. But what about this one? If you see here, you go 2 up to 260, bam, there it is. So B is the correct answer. Number 35, it says that the deer population in the state, blah, 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 is growing at 2% per year. Predict the population after 4 years. Okay, once again, we have A, 1 plus the rate raised to the R. Right, so that's our formula. A, again, is the initial value, which is 1,500. The rate needs to be written as a decimal. And this is the number of years. I guess I should say not N, I should say T. Sorry. Raised to the T. So let's plug in 1,500 here. We're going to go 1 plus 0.02 because 2% written as a decimal is 0.02. And that's raised to the after 4 years. So now I get 1,500, 1.02 raised to the 4th. You're going to take 1.02, raise it to the 4th, multiply by 1,500, and you get about 1624. Moving right along. Same thing here. Okay, now my principal, my starting account is going to be 2,100. We're going to go 1 plus its earning, so 1 plus the rate, which is 0.04, and that's after 4 years, raised to the 4th power. Once again, we're going to do this math first, raise it to the 4th power, multiply by 2,100, bam, there it is. A, B, C, and D. Okay, now, if I look here, you can see this is an exponential function. Okay, well this is a linear function. This is a linear function. This is a quadratic. The only correct answer is D. Now, what else could I have done? Plug that in your calculator, you get your table. Absolutely. Easy breezy. 38 says, I'm boiling 1 cup of water. I'm boiling a cup of water, right? Okay, here it is. My interval, X is your time, Y is your temperature. Okay, what is the real world domain and range? Okay, well obviously I can't have a negative time. Can't have a negative time. There's no such thing. Okay, so you know right now it can't be all real numbers because all real numbers includes negative numbers also. So we know that the domain has to be greater than 0. Time has to be greater than 0. Now I'm choosing between the range. Is the range less than 210 or is it between 0 and 210? Well, think about this. Can you have a negative temperature? Yes, you can. Okay, you can have a negative temperature outside. So the range is anything less than 210. Moving right along, we got another problem like that. Still boiling the water. Okay, it says what's the y-intercept of the function? So here's your y-intercept. X is 0, y-intercept is 210. Right, so I know that this is the answer, okay, because y is 210. And again, that represents the initial temperature of the water. Initial temperature of the water. Looking at the last question, it says, does it represent a linear function or an exponential function? All you need to do is look at your change in y's. If your change in y's stays consistent, it's a linear function. If your change in y's does not stay consistent, subtracting y's, it's an exponential function. Okay, so if I do 64 minus 16, I get 48. Okay, but if I do 256 minus 64, I get 192. Those are not equal. So we know right now it's not a linear function. Now to check for an exponential function, you do the same thing, but you're going to divide y's. So 64 divided by 16. That gives you 4. So this should also change by a degree of 4. So 256 divided by 64. Guess what? That's 4. Same thing here. If I did 1024 divided by 256, you get 4. So we know right now that it's an exponential function because we are dividing to get a constant rate of change, not subtracting. So it's an exponential function. Exponential function. That's it, folks.